I do not think that Barack Obama has done nearly enough to change the ideological landscape of the United States. I mean, one of the things that the president has is he does have a bully pulpit. He has more of an opportunity, being the lone voice of the executive branch, he has a better opportunity to speak to the American people than any other person in America. And I don't think he's done that sufficiently. I don't think that he has done that sufficiently. I think that he could, without putting himself in political jeopardy, because I don't want him to do stuff that's going to put him in political jeopardy. But I think that without putting himself in political jeopardy, he could do some things. And sometimes I think he has been really quite careless ideologically. So let me go to one that's on my mind, because I'm a lawyer. When he introduced Sonia Sotomayor to the nation as his nominee to be a justice on the Supreme Court, he introduces Sonia Sotomayor. And during his introduction, he says, I wanted to choose a jurist who would apply the law and not make the law. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. That is one of the talking points of the political right. Everybody knows, or should know, that judges are, in fact, policymakers. Just like Sonia Sotomayor said in a speech that she gave a couple places, one in Berkeley. I mean, you know, and in fact, that's well known, should be well known. They are. Supreme Court of the United States is a policy-making branch of government. They cover it up. Journalists help them cover it up. Civics courses cover it up. You know, we have our two political branches of government, and then we have this branch that, you know, comes from Mars or something. Supreme Court of the United States is thoroughly political. That's why. Why is there a fight over the nominees? And, if it's thoroughly political, and so without having to, he gratuitously gave some degree of credence to this notion that law at that level is sharply different from politics, wholly distinguishable from politics, and that what he was after was a judge who would merely apply the law as opposed to making the law. Does the Supreme Court of the United States make the law? Yes, the Supreme Court of the United States makes the law. George Bush, I'll give props to George Bush. I'm ideologically opposed to George Bush, but I'm going to give props to him. George Bush said, when it comes to nominating federal judges, I'm going to nominate good conservatives. He said it. No beating around the bush. No pun intended. And by doing that, he gave validity. He gave, he lifted the morale. He burnished the reputation of conservatism. Barack Obama, he's sort of, afraid to, no, I wish that I'm going to nominate liberals. Nothing wrong with being liberal. I think that that's an important thing. I don't think it's, just mere symbolism, mere words, mere symbolism is important. In fact, the whole point of my talk was to say that with respect to being president of the United States, or some people say, mere symbolism. Oftentimes, symbolism is substantive. And with respect to symbols, with respect to rhetoric, with respect to the ideological landscape, I don't think that Barack Obama has pushed far enough to push the boundaries over. So I'm critical of him on that. I'm also very critical, to tell you the truth, the place where I'm most critical of Barack Obama actually is not directly related to the race question. The place where I'm actually most critical of Barack Obama in my book, and right now as I speak, has to do with the position he's taken with discrimination against gays and lesbians. That's the place where I'm most critical. Barack Obama often talks about how he is the beneficiary of the civil rights revolution. He talks about, how he looks back with awe and gratitude and admiration for John Lewis, when John Lewis was with the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Well, I would say to President Obama, that's very good, President Obama. Well, I hope that when you think about John Lewis, you read what John Lewis had to say when he criticized President John F. Kennedy. And he said to John F. Kennedy, black folks are catching hell, you should be with us. And I don't think, and I would just, sort of bring out the analogy, I don't think that the president has been strong enough and forthright enough in criticizing the invidious discriminations under which gay people and lesbian people still suffer with respect to federal law and state law. I think it's highly ironic, for instance, with the question of marriage. Here we have a person whose parents, when Barack Obama's parents were married, marriage across the race line was prohibited. It was a felony in many states. As late as 1967, it was against the law in 16 states. Yet Barack Obama, with respect to the question of marriage, is basically in the same position as a person who in the late 1950s was saying he was in favor of, separate but equal, but true equal. Barack Obama says, well, not marriage, everything but true marriage. In my view, that's tantamount to late 1950s, separate but equal. And I think it's a close question. Again, one might come back to me and say, well, I thought, Kennedy, that you take the position he shouldn't, take positions that would put him in political jeopardy. On this one, I think actually that he could push more and not be in political jeopardy. In fact, ironically, I think this is an instance in which actually public opinion is out in front of Barack Obama, which is one of the reasons why he's now saying that he's evolving. So I'm not uncritical of President Obama, but in being critical of him, it seems to me one has to be very attentive to the dilemmas that he faces and be very attentive to the role he occupies. He does not purport to be the leader of a social movement. No, he ain't Martin Luther King Jr. He is an electoral politician who wanted to be president of the United States and now is president of the United States. That's a different role, and it seems to me that one's assessment needs to be different because of the role distinction.